Hello and welcome to the England B Team podcast, a football podcast brought to you by an Englishman who wasn't good enough to make it as a professional footballer
and an Irishman who wasn't good enough to play for England.
My name's Joe and this is my co-host Gareth and we're back once again to talk about all things football. So,
Are we ever going to change that intro? Should we?
We need to have some sort of consistency. So of course there's consistently good episodes.
Do you reckon we're at the point yet where people listen to it and they sort of mouth along with it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my brother's friends, he used it in some sort of I think he was joking a bit, but he still remembered it. So
there you are.
I think it's memorable because it kind of rolls off the tongue easily.
It does, yeah. Okay then, yeah. If it's getting me famous, then I'm happy to live with it. Yeah.
We can think of something else, and it's like
no, we'll stick with it.
I guess also the England B Team podcast. I guess what it's like from the film, it's like a implication that the Irish team wasn't as good.
Yes.
I think it's like a nice introduction. Like it's not offending anyone. You know, neither of us were very good at football.
No, that's true. I wasn't good enough to play for Lisbon. Never mind England, but
I wasn't good enough to play for Stevenage, let alone England.
I was in Stevenage at the weekend. I passed through Stevenage.
True, lucky you.
Yeah, we've been Stevenage on the brain recently. Because of Nathan Teller joining Bayer Leverkusen as well.
So yeah, if Nathan Teller hears this, then I'm a fellow...
Nathan, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on.
I think he was born there, but he was raised there.
Okay, so he's a local boy more or less.
So I was born there, wasn't raised there, but
yeah,
there we go. Who thought to Stevenage, people with roots in Stevenage...
Find yourselves here together?
Well, one playing for Leverkusen, one talking about Leverkusen and other football stuff, but...
There you are. But here
we go.
2 degrees of separation away.
Yeah.
We're very close. And speaking of Stevenage then, does that lead into today's episode? That doesn't really. Well, Stevenage is London, isn't it?
It's like a... I guess one day it will be London. It was like a new town outside of London.
Okay.
Back in the 70s. It was like an ideal place to live.
Is that what it's built for? Like
yeah. Let's not go into it too much now.
Okay,
but let's not talk about Stevenage. Let's talk about...
Tell us what we're going to talk about.
Today's episode. If you're watching, maybe you can guess from what we're wearing.
Yeah.
But of course, it's going to be a Chelsea-focused episode, which we haven't actually done yet.
Yeah, because since we started this podcast, it's not an episode I've been dying to do, to be totally honest, as two Chelsea fans.
I think we'll have lots of talking points today. But yeah, I think this episode has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Of course, we've spoken about a lot about Bayer Leverkusen on this podcast, but first and foremost,
they're having a good season, so that's why we talk about them. Chelsea, well,
it's probably one of the hottest topics in world football right now,
which is good for us. We can talk about it on the podcast, but
I think this title, the title of this episode will be Todd Boehly's Chelsea. Mm-hmm. But I think the question we need to ask is, what is going on at Chelsea?
Yeah. Is it Todd Boehly's Chelsea?
Whose Chelsea is it? I think it's Todd Boehly's playground at the moment.
Yeah, but that's a fair way of saying that, yeah.
We can go into that.
So what are we getting into today?
So I think we'll give our initial thoughts and expectations, when, or maybe at the start of the buying process.
Yeah.
And then when...
Buying of the club, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when it was official that Todd Boehly would be, or Clear Lake Capital would be the new owners.
The title,
then I think we should dive into a bit about the transfers.
Yeah,
ingoings, outgoings, the amount of money. And then the managerial decisions, been quite a few of those as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to get through.
Let's see how we can fit it in under an hour or so. We want to stick to that. And then we'll round it off and maybe a bit about more of the off the pitch stuff, like the disconnect between the fans and the club. And then we'll round it up with what next? What does the future hold for Chelsea Football Club?
Within the next 8 years. When all the players' contracts run out in 8 years, we can look forward to that.
Yeah, let's see. Long future to go with these current players.
Yeah,
but let's
really
see.
Is, yeah.
So I think we'll dive in with our initial thoughts and expectations. I think we should mention we're not going to go into details of the sale of the club.
I think that's been covered enough, to be totally honest.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously it's a sensitive subject, and obviously what's happening in the world right now is
true.
A big tragedy, but so we're not going to go into why it was sold and stuff. Yeah. But of course,
we're not political pundits, are we?
No. But I don't even think it's political. I think it's just kind of everyone knows what's happening.
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and how awful everything is.
Very
and
fair.
I think it was 100% right that Abramovich had to sell the club.
Yeah.
I think.
Unfortunately,
yeah. He had links to. But anyway, I think it was a good thing to happen. It had to happen. And
and it's the nature of modern football as well.
Yeah.
Actually the Abramovich era weirdly ended up being quite stable in the end.
Compared to now.
Yeah. And it lasted for nearly 20 years, which in modern football is quite rare. So we've been a little bit spoiled as Chelsea fans recently. So a
very
takeover
true.
of a club. I think a lot of fans of big clubs have went through this.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. So obviously we all enjoyed Chelsea from 2003 to 2022, so much success and stuff.
Yeah,
but I really got the impression of when Boehly joined, I don't know if I read into something too much, but I really thought he was gonna like calm it down a bit, like invest in a project, as in like around the youth system Chelsea have, which is obviously one of the best in the world in England. Of course, bring in some players, move out a lot of that dead wood, get rid of the players on this super high contract. I thought it was going to be, and I maintained this for even after the first couple of windows. I was like, okay, now maybe it's going to calm down now. But
okay, so that's what you first.
That's what I was really optimistic. I thought
is that unfair to say that's kind of happened, hasn't it?
No, because we've just spent too much money.
No,
I think we'll go into that a bit later, but so I was really excited and optimistic at first.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to cling on to that optimism a little bit. Obviously, I think we were both, when the sale was happening, we were both reading into it quite a lot about who the potential buyers would be. And they were my first choice throughout the process.
They were for me as well.
I think I tweeted about it as well, and I have this American friend. He replied like saying, "You don't want the Ricketts family."
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
Because they're racist, etc.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to have a sports washing nation like a Newcastle owner.
You'd prefer not to, in an ideal world.
Of course, yeah. Again, let's not go political, but no countries are perfect, of course, as well. But I think some things are worse than others. But yeah, like I was optimistic, and I thought it'd be a fresh start. I thought the scattergun approach of spending lots of money would calm down a bit. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe it was what I was hoping for. Especially
in some ways, it feels like a natural continuation of the Chelsea culture of the last 20 years. We've always spent money, and we've always been quite.
My favourite season in the last 10 years, the 1920 season of Lampard, when we couldn't buy anyone. Yeah, that's my favourite season.
And that sort of built up a little bit of a future for us, and it felt like it was building a project that Tuchel then took over. Yeah, and we were going in that direction, and there was a club identity again. Yeah, and everything seemed to be going there.
There's a really good.
And to be honest, I felt like Chelsea were starting to get things right at that time, and we've talked about this and what's happening next. But there was a genuine culture building around Chelsea, especially with the older players coming in the roles of administration, and they were taking the early part of the Abramovich era and taking the legends from that era and incorporating them into the club and building a culture around the club.
Was there, Ashley Cole was there,
Ballack was involved, Peter Cech was obviously involved.
Something I wanted to mention as well. Obviously, when Boehly eventually did come in, it was a complete fresh start, which is not something that I wanted. I didn't expect it to be Cech going, Bruce Buck going.
See, that's what I mean.
Marina going, but I guess it's also if you think about it in a non-foot point of view, if you buy a new business, most likely you're going to bring in your own people.
At the top, you probably will. Yeah.
I've never been involved in business before, but I guess very complete opposite views. I don't know how it would work with having people from a very old regime, 20 years, and a brand new regime.
But there's an argument to be made for that as well. Isn't there? Sort of smooth the transition over
of course,
by
people
doing
who
that.
understand the club, understand people they work with.
That's what I was hoping for, to be honest. I was expecting not much to change. I was maybe hoping for a little bit more stability in the managerial choices. And I was genuinely, I sort of thought, that was the one bit of Chelsea culture that I wasn't happy with, was the constant sacking of managers.
Yep, I agree.
I was thinking, fresh start on that. We'll bring in Mr. Potter, give him a few years, and build a project around that.
6
Here we are,
later.
4 managers later. here
5
we are.
managers later, technically. We had Bruno for one game. Yeah, but I think we're going to talk about the managers.
Bless him,
and maybe a bit about them.
Yeah, well, it's fair to say then we both had a pretty positive outlook.
Yeah.
Also, which was maybe stemmed from the fact that the actual period around that, the year before, not to get into it again, but the actual period, there was a lot of uncertainty around the club. I genuinely thought we were going to disappear at one point.
Yeah,
I had a genuine fear that Chelsea were going to collapse. It genuinely caused me anxiety in my life around that. Remember, the shop closed and we couldn't trade, and there was worries about whether the government would let the sale go through, and it just felt like when this came in, it was okay, now we're good. Yeah. Now we can settle down a little bit as a club and build for the future. And then this happened. The last nearly 2 years have happened.
Yeah, so I think my last thoughts on the initial expectations and stuff was, I don't know, I thought it was going to be a long-term project, and it is. I mean, we have to remember, it's only been 1 year.
It feels longer.
It feels like a long... I mean, it's their second season. Second season only?
Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I'm only a few weeks into the second season, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I don't know. Like, I'm still going to try and be optimistic. I don't agree with the money that's been spent. I don't agree with a lot of the outgoings. I don't agree with a lot of the incomings. Again, which I think we're going to move on to now. But
yeah,
I was optimistic.
yeah,
The optimistic is definitely
dead.
Yeah,
Sucked out of you.
it's a tiny bit still there.
Back to good old Chelsea
because there's
pessimism.
still some. I like some of the players that are brought in. There's still some of the players we've got there.
I just don't think I know enough about it. I'm
Yeah.
still. I've never had this experience with Chelsea. Like, even when, so we're recording this podcast. This is going out on this Thursday,
Yep.
so we've just saw the game at the weekend. I didn't see the match. I was away, but I was following it on my phone, and even the subs bench, I was looking at going.
We have
even
so
some of these
many
players,
injuries.
I don't know.
Because we have 12 injuries. Like,
but there's so many unknowns around the squad, and I don't know what Chelsea's going to turn up next week.
Yeah.
And that's the first time maybe in the history of Chelsea where I don't feel like I know the club inside out.
Next game will be Aston Villa at home, which is a very difficult game.
That's
a
a tough game
right now. And then after that, it was against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup. Not Bournemouth, Brighton in the Carabao Cup, and Brighton are flying as well. Just beat Manchester United.
Yeah, they did. That was good. That was nice. That was one of the highlights of the weekend. But
yeah,
so we'll see. I was optimistic. I think my optimism is about halfway gone, but I'm a naturally optimistic man when it comes to Chelsea, as we found out on this podcast.
Usually more pessimistic in general. When it comes to Chelsea, I think I'm more optimistic.
You're probably wise though. I might have to. Maybe it's a bit early to change my season prediction for Chelsea. Don't think we're going to win the league anymore. I might have to hold that one back.
I put 6th, didn't I? And even then, like, we're 14th now, I think.
Oh man!
But look, it's only been 5 games. It's only been 1 year with the owners. We're optimistic.
Okay.
We still have a little bit of optimism still. And again, we don't know how it would have been with another owner. Like, they could have done like.
But yeah, you should have, could have. Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't know. Like, the sale had to happen. It happened. It's been a very turbulent year. We get on with it. We still support the club, but we can scrutinise. We can scrutinise it.
We have to support them. We're not allowed to not support them. That's what I hate about football sometimes, man. I wish I could just change, but I can't.
No, never.
You're not allowed to. My heart won't let me.
Thin. But of course, as well, like I said, we can support it and we can scrutinise it, which I think this next section
is going to be done.
Be a lot of scrutinising.
But it's 40 minutes. It's going to be a lot of scrutinising. I feel like, but.
So yeah, we're going to dive into the transfers.
Yeah, I suppose that's the natural place to start. It's what's making all the headlines.
So, 3 transfer windows. What are you, so before we talk about like maybe each window or some of the key players, what's your thoughts on the approach, the strategy, etc.?
Like, I know what you think of it.
Yeah.
I know that you think it's been a bit of an incoherent mess, and I agree with that to an extent, but I just don't feel like I know enough about it yet. Okay. There's so many great players that have been brought, or players that could be good. It's such a massive change. Like, even more so than when Abramovich took over that first year. When he took over and we brought in like a record number of signings. There's so much going on, and also no established players coming, no big name signings. A lot of money spent.
Only Nkunku this summer.
Yeah, and then he hasn't even played yet in a competitive game. So I don't really know what's going on with the club. The sales, I wasn't mad about them, but yeah, we're early into the season. A lot of them might have improved.
This is the thing. Always with Chelsea sides, probably most sides, but especially Chelsea. Like, as I football changes, football adapts, etc.
Yeah.
But we always brought in players that would add to the spine. So we brought in
that was
Czech, who replaced Kudicini, 2 excellent goalkeepers, and of course Terry was there. Then Carvalho next to him. Then you had Lampard, Makelele. Then Essien the season after that. And then Ballack the season after that. And then Drogba. And then Shevchenko. Okay, Shevchenko didn't work out, but he's still. I'm sure he had a good impact.
Well, you're just reading out a list of players. I remember this at the time, and I saw a tweet about it recently again. Like, that team had so many international captains in the squad. Like, there was always leaders, and you're bringing in experienced players. Like, Shevchenko wasn't a huge success at Chelsea, but he did bring something.
Sure. Yeah. And then he didn't work out. We brought in Anelka, and
he ended up being a great signing in many ways.
And after that, it was Diego Costa, etc., etc.
I mean, there was plenty of flops in between there. Like, Ricardo Quaresma got a few games for us, which
Do you remember Minerio?
I wish I didn't.
I think he played 1 game.
I wish I didn't.
It's a weird
Alexander Pato got in there for a wee while.
There was a lot. Like we could go on for ages.
One of my favourites was Manish.
Maybe we should do an episode of Chelsea flops.
We could do a podcast on that. We could start a new podcast and do an episode every week on that.
Just with one player.
But to be fair, you're right. The general building around it was there was a spine being built, and there was always like this constant. There was always an understudy to every top player.
And I don't feel like that's happened. Even in 2019-20, the players were young, but I feel like they were like really buying into the identity of the club.
They were.
Like, of course, there was even like, okay, not even just the academy players like Mount, James, etc. Even Zuma, like he was really into Chelsea.
True.
And then Jorginho as well. I think he was really like he got a lot of stick. But
yeah, when Sarri left, especially. Yeah.
Tammy Abraham.
He dedicated himself to it. Yeah.
Even Giroud, I think he really liked the club.
But again, that was experience mixed with youth as well.
Yeah,
it was a really well balanced squad. Maybe could have done with a little bit of an injection of one or two extra world class players to bring us a win in the league level.
Yeah.
But that's what I felt like. That's why I felt like we were when Boehly took over. We were one or two players off really playing, and then just sold 20 players, bought 400, and that was it. Just changed the whole thing.
And that's the thing as well. Like, so in regards to the amount of money spent, I think you have to be careful with the money spent. Like, I don't agree with it. I think it's too much. I don't think it made any sense. A lot of signings, especially because we have such a good youth academy. Like, why would we spend? I don't know. I'm not comparing players. I think Enzo Fernandez is amazing, but 105 million on him, and I'm not comparing the players. And then 12 million we sold Billy Gilmore for. Like, I'm not saying they're the same quality, but like, they're not 100 million difference players.
No, they're not.
Caicedo, for example, again, really good player,
God,
but
don't get me started on Caicedo.
115 million. It's just all too much for me. Like Disassi as well. Like, I'm trying not to compare players. You got to be careful with this because you want to support them all, but there comes a point where you've got to think like that's just too much.
It was a huge revamp of the squad, and that's what kind of scared me about it as well. It's like, would it have hurt to have held on to a couple of those players, to hold on to the likes of Andreas Christensen or Billy Gilmore, and let them stick around, build around them a little bit, and maybe sign one or two experienced players that have been there, done that. Yeah. But no, they've built a new squad. And you're talking about the spine. I don't really know what the spine of the current Chelsea team is. Like, Thiago Silva would be the 1 point of it, but he's 38. So
he's 39 soon. I think he's 39 in September,
So we can't really...
But even him, like, he's looked a bit naturally off the pace.
Yeah, he's 38 years old. Yeah. But like, I don't know what... If you said to me next year, what's going to be that Chelsea spine? I don't know much about the goalkeeper, to be honest. Sanchez, I'm not... I don't really have much of an opinion on him. Good
signing, but seeing his first few games at Chelsea,
and then in the centre half, I would have said maybe last year, maybe Badiashile, he looked the business, but isn't playing much. Injuries.
I think he's so good. I think when he comes, we miss him big time. He's physical.
But we say we miss him. He's only been there for a couple of months.
But he was really good in every game.
Like, I don't know if he's going to be the main part of our defence. Fofana maybe as well when he comes back. Look,
he's also quite lightweight.
We don't know. And then, like, what's the spine going to be? What's the replacement for Czech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba going to be?
We're never going to replace that.
But that's the core of the squad. And I don't look at that and say, I can see Sanchez, Badiashile, Fernandez and Jackson being that next year.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I don't know. It might be.
Maybe we look at the windows we've got in front of us. Let's go through it very quickly, and then I think you want to talk a bit about like the money side.
Yeah.
So summer 2022, it was Sterling, Koulibaly, Cucurella, Fofana, Aubameyang, Kezadai, Chukwuemeka. I felt like that one was quite messy.
Sterling was a genuinely good signing.
Didn't turn out a good signing, but it was.
He looked all right this season. I think it's hard for Sterling to shine in this current team, but I rate Raheem Sterling, and I think that was a player we really needed. Yeah,
and then Koulibaly could have been that spine. He wasn't.
He was dreadful.
Cucurella, let's not say too much.
No, definitely not.
Fofana, always injured.
Yeah.
Aubameyang,
disaster.
Crazy signing, especially after sacking
Tuchel a week, sacking his best mate a week later.
And then Kezadai, Chukwuemeka, very much players for the future.
Chukwuemeka he's got potential.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think this window is kind of a mess, really. Like
that one didn't look good. No, I didn't read the
that
paper.
One was kind of you could forgive because
that was the transition window. Exactly. We didn't really know what was going on there.
Half of the players could still turn out okay. Like Sterling has time, Fofana has time, Chukwuemeka, Kezadai. Even Cucurella, like he's still 25, 26. He has time. We need to. Yeah, let's see.
No, we don't need Cucurella. That was a mistake. That one.
Yeah.
But you're not going to hit all hits. Sometimes you're going to miss it. But yeah, the winter one. Then afterwards, we can see that. Yeah.
Again, this is very different.
I'm looking at the list.
It's very different approach though. Like it's all these young players: Badiashile, Andre Santos, Mudryk, Madueke, Gusto, Enzo Fernandez.
Like Noni Madueke for a little while looked the business as well. He looked like a real player. Well, that's another thing. Like, should we be signing new physios? Man, what is going on with the Chelsea?
Like Chelsea's injury list.
Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And like, I can look at a few players here. Yeah, Andre Santos, you were a big fan of as well, but he's obviously went out on loan now for the year.
Forest and don't even know if we get much game time there because they have like 100 midfielders.
Yeah. Enzo, like, again, we're all talking about how great Enzo was.
I really like him. I think he's an excellent player.
He's a good player, but the fact that he is the standout signing and he hasn't been exceptional for
and also,
Chelsea.
I mean, apart from Bellingham, pretty very rare, but I don't understand how you could spend £100 million on a midfielder.
Yeah.
2 midfielders, £100 million.
Well, the money we can talk about there. I have a slightly different opinion on that, but it's the general transfer policy. Just looks. I'm reading the names and going, I forgot that all happened in one window. And then you look at the next window and you're like, oh my goodness, that happened as well.
And in the next window, Nico Jackson, I think everyone knows I'm a big fan of him.
Oh, really?
But he needs time. Nkuku injured. Ugo Chukwu, he actually played really well yesterday.
Played alright, yeah.
And that's the kind of player that I'd like to see us sign. Like, I think he's like 19, maybe, but he's 25 million euros. Like, that's a gamble
reasonable
worth
price,
taking.
Yeah.
Like, and you spend that and you buy Caicedo 150 million. You have 2 super young midfielders, Andre Santos there as well. Like, I don't really get the approach. In Lavia as well, we put in
Lavia.
Cole
Palmer is a baffling one to me, man. I don't understand that signing at all.
I feel like I don't know.
Because he was quite cheap as well. With the normal English tax that comes to players, was he 40 million quid?
Yeah.
That's nothing. For a young English midfielder, like Phil Foden's around the same age. How much would you pay for Phil Foden? Obviously, he's a much better player. But the English tax gets added on, and there's no English tax for Cole Palmer. Or if he is, without the English tax, we're talking 20 million quid. And if he was that good, would Pep really let him go?
I don't know. Pep was sold.
Like, we give them Mateo Kovacic.
Yeah, but Kovacic was done at Chelsea. Like, his attitude was terrible last
season. But as a player, I'm thinking they're getting Kovacic and we're getting Cole Palmer, and Kovacic went for 26 million or something.
Yeah, but he only 1 year left of his contract.
Yeah.
So I guess you got.
I don't know.
You're going to talk about the contract in a second.
Lavia again. Is he worth 60 million quid?
I don't know. Is he 19, 20? Like, it's just gambles. A lot of these signings.
Played for Southampton. Like really, has he proven himself at that level? Like, I feel like there just could have been one player in there not on a 9-year contract who we just could have brought in and went, you know what, he's good. We know he's good. He's a safe pair of hands. Who it
could have been, and it doesn't even need to be expensive.
Just someone experienced, someone who's been there, done that. You look at the players that are moving around in the summer. We could have surely been in for one of them.
Like Alexis McAllister was 30 million. And Caicedo,
like, that's a safe pair of hands.
115 million.
He's a proven player.
And McAllister was arguably as good as Caicedo last season. Of course, he's a bit older.
But
I'm not comparing the two players. But I'm saying, like, that's the kind of player you want to see.
I'm comparing them.
But you want to see the experience come in. And, like, I think everyone, like, this is the thing. Everyone, when they load up a Football Manager game or a FIFA game, you buy all the best young players.
Yeah, but I Google what the best ones are.
But also, I think that's what they're doing as well.
I don't know. I've never heard of them.
This isn't a game though, and like, I don't think you can win a.
To be fair, like, and this is going to sound crazy to say this, I do feel like there is a little bit of financial responsibility around this. There is a genuine investment in a very long-term project here. Yeah. When you look at the size of the contracts and what they're thinking, they're not going to do this every summer.
And I mean, they are businessmen, so I'm sure they understand
8-year contracts. The finances work, but then a lot of it, you're locked in for 8 years,
and a lot of it depends on the success on the pitch.
Of course,
they can have everything planned out of saying, okay, but
if
you don't win games, you don't win trophies, you don't get any prize money.
Yeah.
How's that going to happen? But yeah, let's quickly look at the players we've sold. Rudiger, Christensen, there was no chance they were staying anyway because that was the full tour.
Yeah, those two, out of all the ones I'm seeing that have went, those two, we really should have tried to hold on to at least one of them.
But that wasn't the current owner's fault. That was the They had already agreed to leave.
But I feel like a new manager and a good enough,
They already agreed to leave before the new owner.
I know they did, but there could have been efforts made before then to keep them. They were so important. Yeah. Rudiger, I think, was always going to go, unfortunately. But
Abramovich and Marina, unfortunately.
Mount, obviously it broke my heart, but at the same time, do I think Mason Mount makes this current Chelsea team better? No. Kai Havertz has been a donkey over at Arsenal since he's been there. Has he had a shot? He hasn't had a shot on target.
I think he's missed the ball a few times.
Yeah, he's dead. So, and I love Kai Havertz with all my heart, but I'm not missing him, to be totally honest. We got a good bit of money for him. Billy Gilmore, I was always a big fan of.
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
And he's looking tasty enough for Brighton this season again. But then he'd
walk into our midfield now.
Yeah, but Brighton are an excellent team as well, so it's easy to look good in them. Kovacic, we talked about him.
Loftus-Cheek, I would have kept.
I don't know. Like, I love Loftus-Cheek again, but that'd be my heart speaking over my head.
True.
I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's good enough to.
He's doing really well for AC Milan.
Yeah, I know, but it's Italian league and stuff. I don't think Loftus-Cheek was the difference in our midfield to challenge him for the league again.
No, of course, yeah.
A squad player.
But for example,
at best.
Lavia 60 million or keep Loftus-Cheek?
Yeah, well, I don't know enough
again,
about Lavia.
again,
Loftus-Cheek had his chance at it, though.
True, yeah, no, I think he deserved also to be a first team player at another club.
I love him, like, he's a great lad, but I don't think it just wasn't going to happen for him in Chelsea. Same with Callum. You know, I love Callum Hudson-Odoi, I really do, but it just never got there. Never got there, and to be honest, he was on a massive contract.
Yeah, again.
And getting rid of these players, that was important.
That was one of the positive things. They managed to get rid of a lot of players on the big contracts. As much as we loved Kante, he was very injury prone. He was on £300 a week.
I mean, it's N'Golo Kante. He'll always be a part of our club.
Werner, we didn't sell him for much in the end, but he was on over £200 a week, I think. I'm guessing. Yeah. And we managed to move.
And a lot of the new players, like, their contracts aren't massive. No. Some of them are, but some of them are quite low. Some of them aren't disclosed as well. But we're talking much lower contracts. Yeah. And that's what really matters when we talk about the finances. And also, I think
the contracts are also based on, what's the word? Like how the team performs.
Yeah,
so,
bonuses.
For example, apparently Reece James' contract was reduced this season because we didn't qualify for the Champions League.
Yeah.
Which is a
wise.
very different approach, and the players have to accept that.
Well, for an underperforming team that should be... Yeah. And especially because, you can save so much money in contracts and you can do a lot of things, but, for example, having Champions League football brings in a massive amount of money. Of course. So, and it's just unacceptable for Chelsea to not be in the Champions League. Yeah. It's unacceptable. I don't care if there's now a big 6 or a big 7 in the Premier League. Chelsea need to be in the Champions League. They're too big a club not to be, and we're nowhere near it at the minute. No, we're not even near the Conference League at the minute. No disrespect to the Conference League, but, like, come on. On money, I want to talk a quick thing about this, right? Because I hear all the time in the media, Chelsea have signed players in 8-year contracts. It's better for financial fair play, and you're still going, really? Is it? Because we're talking 100 million here, 100 million there. Yeah. That's a shitload of money, man. Where is it all going? Are we really saving money? Then I did the math, because this is how you spend a Monday morning. Apparently, instead of working, I did the actual mathematics on it, and I worked it out.
Priorities.
So, I saw a video from Tifo Football, I told you about this, where they talked about a term I've never heard of called amorative figures. Yep. So, it's actually the value per year, essentially.
I've never heard of it until Chelsea came about.
Yeah, well, and then it becomes important. So, obviously, this is all... It's not exact, there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of subtlety to these contracts and how they're structured, but the rough idea we can take from it is if you sign a player on an 8-year contract, the transfer fee is essentially split across 8 years. Yeah. More or less evenly. Now again,
and the only thing is that now it's 5 years.
Yeah, it's going to be changed.
UEFA and I think the Premier League have changed everything. But still,
So you can work out roughly how much each player costs per year, and then you look at their wages for those years, which often is more than the transfer fee. So I went through each player that we brought in this summer window. Mm-hmm. I looked at their transfer fee, how much they're going to cost Chelsea this year for the transfer fee, and how much their wage is going to cost, and combine them. Now, I think the most expensive one this year is going to be, for example, Moises Caicedo, 116 million, but that'll be 14.5 million per year over the 8 years.
Bargain.
Now, he's
Same price as Billy Gilmore.
Yeah, well, there you are. 9 million a year in wages. That means per year, Moises Caicedo is costing Chelsea 23.3 million.
That's crazy.
Now, that's over 8 years, obviously a big investment. But when you see some of the players we've got rid of, it's a lot more. Yeah. So that's the most expensive. You take Romeo Lavia, 14.5 million per year when you divide it up. And Nkunku, 21.8. Disasi, 12.7.
Sanchez.
Sanchez, where is he? 9.3.
Still sounds
because
like a lot,
23 million, 7 years, it's only 3.3 million a year.
Okay.
Now, his wages, they're on an estimate. A lot of these aren't included. I've put them on the slightly higher end. So I'm going to assume they're getting some nice bonuses.
What's the estimate wage for Robert Sanchez?
No, what I've estimated it. So I've worked out the average wage of a Chelsea player, and I've put them for all these players. So, for example, I'm estimating that Robert Sanchez is going to be getting the same as David Washington, who he's not going to be getting, but it'll probably balance out. And I've given a bit more money just to be safe on it. I know Robert Sanchez was on, I think he was on 23,000 a week before he came to Chelsea.
Really interesting.
Now he's going to be on a lot more than that at Chelsea,
70.
but I don't know if he's going to go over 100k.
No, I don't think
so I've assumed 100k. So I've assumed 100k for a lot of those players because of performance related bonuses that might come in, wages, blah blah blah. So I've been very generous to this. Yeah. So over this year, the new signings, including their wages and their transfer fees, this year are going to cost Chelsea roughly 132 million euros. This is all in euros because So 132. Now the players we got rid of this summer window: Kai Havertz, 75 million. I know the money comes in a different way when you sell players, but for the sake of this, for comparison,
euros or pounds?
Euros. Okay. It's all in euros. So we're going to compare this in the same way. So I'm going to split Havertz's transfer fee over the years that he's going to be gone. We're going to assume the same thing, just for comparison's sake. 75 million, 5-year contract, 15 million quid a year. 15 million quid in wages he was getting paid a year. So Kai Havertz's money he's going to bring Chelsea in, or we're going to save, is 30 million per year. Now that's more than Caicedo, more than Lavia, more than any of them. They don't even get close to that. So Mason Mount even 17.2.
It's like double some of the players.
Yeah. Like even take people like where's Koulibaly, who went for nothing, but the wages were insane. Yeah, Koulibaly went for 23 million quid over 3 years. That's still 7.7 a year, which is more than Romeo Lavia. Yeah. And the wages, 17.8 million euros a year is what he was getting paid. So overall, we're saving 25.5 million with Koulibaly getting off the books.
So what's the total?
And he was a donkey. So, and I haven't even included the likes of Lewis Hall, David Fofana, Zakaria. The lads are on loan. I haven't included them in this. Even with that, Chelsea will save 204 million euros. That means there's a profit of 71 million euros.
But I guess for financial fair play reasons,
over financial fair play, Chelsea are doing good business. The only problem is these are on big contracts. We can't do this every year, first of all, and they need to be successes, because if they're not, we are locked in the long-term contracts.
That's the thing. Like, again, before we dive into the next section, what happens in January? Like, we have so many players still. I can't. Most of the squad now is on 8-year contracts. Surely, like. A
lot of them are 7 to 8 year contracts. Some of them are on 9-year contracts.
The centre backs, Pavan Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
And then you've got Chilwell, Correa, like they're all on at least 5-year contracts. Like
like Cole Palmer's on a 7-year contract.
Okay.
Yeah, Disasi 6 years and Kunku 6 years. A lot of them have an extra year option. Jackson's on an 8-year contract, I think, with a 1-year extension option.
Give him a 20-year contract.
Yeah.
Did you see his shot yesterday?
No, man. That's all it is. It's just shots. That's all he does. He just shoots. He doesn't score.
I need to show this to you, actually.
There we are. Well, while you get it up, I would just say, from a business point of view, right now, Chelsea are actually doing very good business. They are okay in financial fair play. The problem is, these lads do need to be a success in the next few years. But right now, like if I take a stupid number, like, I don't know, the combined cost, Robert Sanchez, 9.3 per year. Compare that to how much we're getting. Lukaku alone, just going out on loan for the year.
He's on like 350 grand a week.
Yeah, it's like 18 million quid we're saving. We're just getting them off the books for the year. Like, that's massive. So that the sales are really good business. Bakayoko, you remember him? 6.6 million a year. He went on a free transfer, but he was still costing us that much. We've got rid of that. Ziyech, even, he's not even getting all of his wages paid by Galatasaray for the year on loan.
His money off.
3.5 million quid.
All counted.
3.5 million quid gone, which is half of a who? I saw that there. Half of a Jordi Petrovic. I don't really know who that is.
Apparently,
the goalkeeper. Yeah. But still, that's half of him for the year.
And here's the Nico Jackson shot I mentioned.
I was at the Busted concert the weekend, so. Oh yeah, magnificent! Yeah, give him a 20.
I love him still. But yeah, so that's the transfers again.
Purely in numbers, we're doing all right.
We could talk about this for hours. I think most Chelsea fans could.
But it's good to know there is genuine, there's genuine business sense behind it.
Yeah.
Just because of no success on the field, it looks a bit crazy. But at the minute, Chelsea are doing quote unquote good business. Financially, we're doing well. It's just very questionable about over these long-term contracts. It needs to work.
Now, this guy's so optimistic again.
I'm just saying, Chelsea are making money, man. People don't believe me when I say this. I didn't believe it until I did the numbers, and I was like, man, I was sitting up all morning. I was on my laptop with the calculator out and everything, conversion rates.
Look at you. This
I was like, what do you call the money saving expert in British TV?
This is the effort we put into the BT podcast.
What's the money saving expert called?
Martin Lewis.
Yeah, that's me, man. I'm Martin Lewis.
I'm not
Chelsea
sure Austrian fans would know him, but maybe there's an Austrian.
Who's the Martin Lewis of Austria? I bet you no one's ever said that in the podcast before. But yeah, okay, so that's the transfers. What do you think, quickly, to sum it up? What are you thinking about the transfers?
I don't like it, but I support Chelsea, not much I can do about it.
There you are.
Yeah.
I'm not a mad fan of it either, but the money I'm not too worried about, because the money overall makes sense.
Let's see.
But I just don't think the players are very good.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but
there we go. That's Chelsea's.
So what are we talking about next?
So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go into the managers, probably about 10 minutes talking about the managers, and then a bit about the current identity of the club, and then what next.
Right, we'll catch you in a minute.
Alright, so yeah, now it's time to look at the managerial decisions, which again
I
is
need to calm down there.
Another hot topic.
I wind up here, man. I hate talking about Chelsea.
I love
this is why we haven't talked about
them. It's like Marmite, isn't it? It's like Marmite or Vegemite, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But, that's why I actually like Marmite.
But yeah, so
Right,
first
go
of
ahead.
all, we won't spend too long on this topic. I think we use up so much time on the transfers. But again, I think the transfers are the
We're
most
here all
exciting part.
They are, to be fair, they're the biggest part of the club.
Exciting part. So Tuchel.
Speaking of exciting, can we talk about Graham Potter? Sorry, Tuchel.
We'll be on to him next.
Right,
Tuchel.
go ahead.
Again, like...
Strange what they did with him.
It was strange in the sense that it made sense that he was fired because they didn't really get on. He's also quite a volatile manager.
Yeah, but
he was also really bad for the last 6 months. Like his final year at Chelsea was terrible. Like it was
things were
some
going
of the worst
already,
football I've seen. Like, I think the last year at Chelsea, I think the football Potter played was better than Tuchel's, but it didn't make sense in the sense that why did they back him in the market? Why did they bring in...
the most strange one was Aubameyang.
He wanted Kukurea, he wanted Aubameyang.
Aubameyang was very strange.
Koulibaly, like... I don't know, like, I mean, I love him. I think he's a great manager and he's given us some of the best memories we've seen at Chelsea, but
yeah,
it was never going to work out.
I think it might have been time to say goodbye to him, as much as I hate to admit that.
But it could have been different. Like, I don't know why it wasn't at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Or just let him take over that season and you knew...
I just felt like Tuchel was going to be the one, finally, that we get like our wee Fergie. He was going to be there for 10 years.
It's never going to be the one at Chelsea.
But no, there isn't. That's it. That's Chelsea. Yeah, so, yeah, you're right. He was going downhill at the end of the last 6 months of his reign, especially.
But he did some good things. Like the owners wanted Ronaldo.
Yeah, that was a great decision.
And he didn't. So thank God for that, for footballing and morality reasons.
Yeah, I'm not having Ronaldo with the club.
But yeah, so and then we have Graham Potter. What do you think of Graham Potter?
Man, the minute he came in, I remember Graham Potter getting hired. I remember talking about this.
You didn't like it?
Do you know why I didn't like it? Right, because you have to look at like the other Premier League teams. Our competitors, in theory, Manchester City, Liverpool, United. United were talking about, they didn't have Eric Ten Hag at the time, I don't think, but they were talking about, their new managers and were linked with Ten Hag and Pochettino. And then obviously Liverpool have Klopp, City of Pep Guardiola, and then we just brought in the most plain man in all of the UK. Like, his name was plain. He looked plain. There's no sex appeal to it. Like, I don't think that.
He's English.
It doesn't help.
There's no good English managers. Apart Eddie Howe. That's a terrible manager.
Eddie Howe, I would have genuinely had. I just thought Graham Potter.
But again, no English managers ever won anything. Never won the Premier League. Like.
Yeah, but he was so unenthusiastic, man. Like he didn't fill me with any kind of excitement whatsoever.
I think I was excited because he was a youngish up-and-coming manager. He had a really good season at Brighton. They were playing good football.
They're playing better football now. But of
course, like there's always the English factor you would consider. And he had a really good start. Like he beat AC Milan 4-0.
Yeah, true.
But then
it's hard to remember. There was a good start. Yeah.
I think I heard lots of stories. I don't think the players took him seriously.
I can see why.
Which is a problem. Like it shouldn't be like that. But of course, when you have players who are earning ridiculous money, they spend a lot of money on them with huge egos.
That's part of the job.
It's going to happen. Yeah. And I don't think they took him seriously. I don't think he can manage. I
think the fairest comparisons, I've heard it so many times, it's became a cliche now, but he was like a PE teacher. And man, he didn't inspire any kind of confidence in me. He was a nice guy. Fair play to him. I really do wish him all the best.
I think he'll go on to good things though. I think he'll get. I don't. You don't think? I think he'll.
No.
He'll manage a top 6 club again.
Do you reckon?
Or take a club to being top 6 or something.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know what. Like he's linked to the Everton job, I think, because Sean Dyche is also pretty terrible. But
I would take Sean Dyche to Chelsea. Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Sack Pochettino. Bring in Sean Dyche. It'd be grand. No, I wouldn't.
I hate all those managers like Dyche and Allardyce. They're just boring.
Brexit football.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, then Potter. There's not much. There's not much left to say about Potter.
And we wish him the best. Like.
Yeah, I do genuinely. He was a really cool guy. I wish it worked out.
He had his change up as well when he joined.
He did. He got a bit of drip about him. Yeah, man, he was looking good.
But it didn't work.
He lost the dressing room, and that was it. And then you've put down here as the next manager as well, Bruno. I kind of forgot about that. One game, wasn't it?
He actually was against Liverpool, and we weren't great, but we drew 0-0, and we actually scored, but Havertz's goal was disallowed for handball.
Yeah.
I mean, I never expected him to take the job. Not much else to say on him, but it wasn't. I think he probably would have been better than Lampard.
We made that mistake before when we gave Avram Grant the job properly. Like that was meant to be a one-game thing. It should have been a one-game thing.
He got to Champions League final.
I know, but he didn't really.
Finished second in the Premier League.
No, the players got that there. Everyone said at the time Michael Ballack and John Terry and Lampard were the managers. Okay. Avram Grant was just along for the ride. What's he done since?
They went to West Ham, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
Portsmouth.
No, these are caretaker managers at best.
But
Directors
I
of
think
football. Bruno,
hot take. I think keeping Bruno would have been better than bringing Lampard in.
Don't know. I think the best.
So I was optimistic about Lampard, of course, for what he's done, and it made sense to carry us into the season. But I didn't really think. I think I thought about it from the romantic side. But his managerial form,
that's it.
His confidence as a manager must have been so low. Like, I think the game that Bruno did against Liverpool was better than what Lampard did. And again, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
It was an impossible task. Like, even look at Pochettino, a proven top coach, he's still struggling with it.
Yeah. So that's why I think it was beneficial.
It was a poison chalice.
So that's why I think I was happy to keep Bruno. Like, I thought, like, steady
to the end of the season.
He knew the players already.
I don't think it would have made a difference. Lampard wasn't going to come in and turn this into a world class football.
But I think bringing in Lampard, it's kind of made him look worse. It's kind of make it again. Like, is he ever going to come back to Chelsea now? Like,
no, I think it's
hasn't done any favours like either way.
No, and the first time he came in, there was a lot of romance attached to it. The second time just didn't feel like that again.
No, like it felt like just painful.
We shouldn't have went back.
I think you could tell after a few games he was like, "What have I done?"
Yeah, man. Like, man, he aged a lot in those few months as well. But then Pochettino's in now.
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what to think of him. I love him as a manager. I think he's a great manager. I loved his... Well, I didn't love them because they're Spurs, but I thought they played great football under Pochettino.
Really good football.
And he did a decent job at PSG, all things considered, because that's an awful job to take.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love him, but it's just too early. Too early.
I wasn't optimistic at first. I think I kind of got caught into the fact that he never won anything at Tottenham. But again, he got into a Champions League final.
Join the club, yeah.
Exactly. He got into the Champions League final. He got him very close to winning the league in 2015-16. Of course, they ended up finishing third in the end, but they had that crazy game against Chelsea and stuff, and they had a good squad, but like it wasn't a title win.
It wasn't a Champions League final title squad.
Exactly, yeah. And then I kind of thought about it a bit more, and I was like, okay, this guy who's good with young players, he developed, obviously, he kind of the one. I think Tim Sherwood gave Harry Kane his debut, but Pochettino really turned him into the player he was. Oh. Tim Sherwood, bring him in.
Yeah.
And of course, there was like other players, I can't think who it was, but they had Danny Rose, Carl Walker, etc. Like all these players came through.
Yeah, they would have came through.
Dele Alli.
Yeah.
But
he's proven to do that, and I'm excited about having him. And I think maybe with the project we have, it's centered on young players for a long time. He's been given the keys to the Ferrari, but the Ferrari's not really got an engine in it. No. So we're waiting for it to get serviced next year. But he's got the keys. And
we'll back him. I always back the manager.
There's no one else. If you'd said to me right now, who do you want as manager? There's no one else I'd choose. No. There's no point. I don't know who could do a better job. No. Maybe the only one who I think could do a short-term job is someone like Jose. But do I want Jose back long-term?
That would be... He wouldn't do anything in the short term.
Because he's not going to play the kind of football that these players are brought in to play.
No, they don't hate him, I think.
There's no one really else. We've sacked every other manager in world football.
Guardiola would be nice, but...
yeah, would be right, yeah. Or Sam Allardyce, but as is.
Alan Pardew.
Oh man, what's happening to him?
He likes... Actually, he had an 8-year contract at Newcastle, so...
That's right, yeah, I think they're still paying him off.
I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I suppose the other one we were linked with at the time was Nagelsmann, but I'm kind of glad you got a Nagelsmann to come in.
New German manager, it looks like.
Yeah, I think he is going to be, yeah.
But yeah, so that was the Chelsea managers. So there's been 5 of them, which is crazy. I mean, I guess you could count Bruno's one game as well. But yeah, so
it's mental. What is it? Isn't it a year ago that the Tuchel Conte incident happened?
I think Tuchel was sacked from sometime last week, like a year ago.
Yeah, so there you are. Just over a year ago with that incident.
There's been former managers since then.
That's
You count at least one game managed. But yeah, so let's kind of round off this episode now. It's been a very good discussion. Very easy to talk about Chelsea. And
too easy.
We have to be careful not to get...
we haven't got very positive about it, but...
No, but it's been...
But it's not a positive time for Chelsea.
No, it's not. And so that's the thing. So before we go into the what next, one of the things I also mentioned, I think I mentioned it before, there doesn't feel like there's an identity at Chelsea at the moment. And on the pitch as well with the players.
We used to have an identity.
Also off the pitch, I don't know, I feel like the owners just doing their thing, which is fine, if it's their money, they've done whatever, but there's always, when it comes to football clubs, there always needs to be some sort of fan involvement. We talked about it before in the Bundesliga, it works so well.
Yeah.
Most clubs have some sort of fan involvement.
Yeah.
If not directly, they listen. For example, Leverkusen, not part of the 50+1 rule, but I think the club still listens to the fans.
Hugely so, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it works.
It does, and it just, again, Chelsea felt like we were finally getting an identity. You know, for so long, Chelsea weren't the most liked club in English football, but I felt like when we won the Champions League for the second time, there was a bit of respect about the club. The youth thing, obviously, as well, but Tuchel bringing in the thing, there was an identity finally building.
It felt like something was building, and now
then
it's
it all just got thrown in the bin.
And now it's a mess.
And yeah, that's what breaks my heart about it. Again, the romantic in me just wants I want to go back to those days. But again, I was saying quickly, but I'm going to really quickly touch on this, but it genuinely felt like a breakup.
Yeah,
when we got rid of that whole team.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think, like, is it genuine like a breakup? And I'm going to give you a quick thing.
Okay.
Quick test for you, right? So, I found this article, scientific article called Grief After Breakup, the 3 things you should know. Okay, so first of all, number 1, it is possible to grieve a relationship. Now, I'm going to read out a quote of this and I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar to football. Ambiguous loss happens when something or someone profoundly changes or disappears. A person feels torn between hope things will return to normal and the looming sense that life as they knew it is fading away like a Polaroid developing in reverse. That feels like that's how I felt when the whole thing came falling down. That's
what I think I mentioned earlier though. I was actually hoping for something different. Like I was ready to put the past behind and have. That's the thing. I don't even mind that we're not winning. Like I agree. Yeah. I would rather us have like a younger team with identity. You care about the club, and then finish 8th this season, and then build from there. Which something that could have happened under the Lampard thing. Obviously, didn't work out. But I think like the money spent, there's just no identity or anything. So I understand that, but I think. From the start, I was hoping for something. I think a lot of Chelsea fans relate to that. But from the start, I was hoping for.
But you always do.
I didn't want the old ways anymore.
Because that's the thing when you go through I feel like I'm comparing this to like a breakup that you would initiate. You're like, it's time to score separate ways. We move on. But you're always full of hope. You're like, it's the right thing to do. But you still have that little tinge of like, but am I doing the right thing here? Could we go back to the old days? Should I have done this? And there's times where I think, Chelsea needed to move on, but I wish. We were back in those Tuchel days. I wish we were back in Mason Mount when he wasn't a snake. I wish we had the young players there. I wish Kai Havertz there. I wish Timo Werner was still there. I feel lost for that period. And I
think Nico Jackson's replaced that for me.
Don't give me Nico Jackson. Nico Jackson's a donkey. No, he's not. He actually looks like a decent player, to be fair. But yeah, the loss of identity, that's a thing.
No, I understand it. Like it makes
feels like a breakup. And I don't know where the Chelsea identity is going to go next. I don't really know what it is. I don't know what is Chelsea identity at this point. I don't really even know anymore. We're quite young as well, so we basically only remember the Abramovich era and a little bit of the 60s, 90s. But there was a whole thing.
2000s, but
so what's next? What is Chelsea? What do we want to happen?
I guess one of the positive things is that we have a lot of young players, and most of them, they've not maybe reached what we expected just yet, but they're still very young. They've got lots of potential. So on the pitch, it should improve. It has to improve.
Well, it's only ways up, yeah.
Exactly.
Unless we get relegated.
But I'm a bit worried about the direction the owners are going in, about the disconnect with the club, the money being spent. Like, it sounds weird because I'm a Chelsea fan of the Abramovich era, or just before then, and the success all came from money. But most of the time, it felt like there was a direction.
I feel like there is a direction with this team now. I do disagree with you.
Like,
I feel like they're investing heavily in young players. If this team works out, if we look in 2 years' time and all these young players develop into world-class footballers, we will say that was brilliant. That was genius in the market to invest that heavily at the start and to get them on long-term contracts. It could be one of the best. But if it doesn't go to work, it could genuinely destroy the club.
Yeah, so
it's a very high risk because they're, again, just one thing I would like Chelsea to do is to have one signing in the next year that you just go, we know who he is. He does the business.
Even just one experienced signing, don't bring anyone else in.
And even look at what City did when they bring in the likes of Kovacic on not massive contracts, bring him in for a year to steady the ship. One of those.
Yeah.
Just a wee nice £25 million, 30-year-old. Come in, run down the clock and just give us a bit of stability. Another Thiago Silva would be great.
A bit younger, I think.
Yeah, a wee bit younger, but yeah. So I don't know.
Close to 40, but
I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what's happening next. Obviously, we have to stay optimistic. We're Chelsea fans. We don't get a choice in it, which is very annoying.
I wonder how Chelsea fans will feel after they listen to this. Are they going to think they're going to hate us? Are they think we're negative about their favourite players?
Honestly, I think for Chelsea fans, we're quite positive. Yeah. Man, like I've supported Chelsea.
I'm sure there'll be a lot disagreeing of some of the stuff we've said.
But Chelsea fans aren't known for their optimism either. Let's be totally fair.
That's true.
I love Chelsea with all my heart, and that's why it's so painful. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but there is a slight optimism, not quite as optimistic as saying Chelsea are going to win the Premier League. That was maybe a little over-optimism on my part, I'm not going to lie. But
I respect you for saying it.
I'd say give it a year or two.
You put it on camera and now everyone's holding you to that.
Yeah, well, this episode could age really well, or in 6 months we can go back and think, oh yeah, that's where our careers influencers died. But that day we decided to slag Chelsea for 20 minutes straight. Not even longer. I don't think we were
slagging, we were just scrutinising, giving our opinion.
There wasn't much positivity in that episode, was there?
No.
And we're cheery guys. We're normally very cheery, happy guys.
Now we're going to go home and cry.
Well, the last episode was a very positive episode of Bayer Leverkusen, to be fair. So we've done the positive thing. Now we just have
next week or next couple of weeks
we'll do something nice.
We'll be back to something positive and fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything you want to say? Or
no, I can't keep talking about Chelsea, man. I need to go.
We're going to go off now.
It's too much Chelsea.
Don't know, take in this episode.
Gonna go for a cry. Gonna go for a lie down and a cry. Now we'll be grand. This is Chelsea. We'll be grand.
We always find a way. Chelsea always do.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We hope for the best.
Yeah. So I suppose last thing to say is the usual kind of social media stuff. Yeah. Please follow us.
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram's hitting off a bit.
Yeah.
It's going well.
Yeah.
It's going well. TikTok's picking up a bit as well. Things are flying a bit. So thank you guys for that.
New content out soon. Any sort of new games you want to see? Like
just about to say any recommendations.
We need some because there's only two of us. We need some stuff sent to us if we're going to make new content like tic-tac-toes. I've seen Football Connect 4 recently.
It's a tough one as well. Yeah. I'd give that a lash show.
Yeah, we need to get copies.
Give that a lash.
But yeah.
Well, hopefully we get that in time. Until then, I suppose that's it. Should we just say goodbye and go have a cry?
Perfect. Cheerio.
Right. Cheerio, everyone. Bye.
Ciao.